Imagine spending thousands of dollars on Google Ads and seeing no new appointments, or being handed excuses that sound reasonable but never actually solve the problem. I've seen that happen, and I've also seen what it looks like when a marketing partnership really works. The difference between the two isn't luck, and that's what we're talking about today. Hello, and welcome to another Marketing Minute episode on the Pregnancy Help Podcast. My name is Delaney, and I am the manager of Extend Web Services, a team at Heartbeat International. Every day, my team and I have the privilege of working with pregnancy help organizations around the world. And I just want to pause and say thank you for the incredible work you do and for letting us play even a small part in the lives you're reaching and rescuing. My love for strategic marketing started years ago when I served as a director of advancement at a pregnancy center. Since then, I've had the chance to sharpen those skills in different roles, including at a strategic marketing agency before joining Heartbeat International. Through it all, I've seen firsthand how much difference the right marketing partnership can make. It's the difference between spinning your wheels and actually moving forward. That's what I want to talk about today: how to get the most out of your marketing partnerships, how to spot red flags, and how to build relationships that are set up for success. After all, when you see success, lives are saved, futures are changed, and hope is restored. While those reasons are more than enough to care about strong marketing partnerships, there are some practical, everyday reasons this matters for your center. Let's dive into them. Practical reason number one: every dollar matters. You are more than aware of this. I have no doubt that you pour your blood, sweat, and tears into building the budget and then work equally as hard to raise the funds necessary to fulfill it. When you have a strict budget, you need to be strict about spending it on worthwhile efforts. Practical reason number two: protecting trust with your board and donors. You know as well as I do that poor stewardship of resources, whether that's your team, time, or money, erodes confidence, whereas wise decisions that result in successes build trust. Practical reason number three: healthy, fruitful relationships can energize your team versus failures leading to staff burnout. Marketing is a part of how you achieve your organizational goals. Energy builds as you see progress. Pouring energy into something that doesn't move the needle is exhausting and disheartening. I've experienced that firsthand. Practical reason number four: a strategic marketing partner that understands your mission and vision helps prevent mission drift by keeping your efforts on target. Within a good marketing partnership, accountability is a two-way street. We'll talk about ways you can keep your marketing partner accountable to their promises in a minute, but for now, I'll say that a good marketing partner will also challenge you when you want to go after something that will not help you meet your goals. Finally, practical reason number five: you need a partner that will help you maximize limited opportunities because the men and women you are trying to reach may only search once. If your marketing isn't working, you miss that moment. One of the best ways to ensure your investment is used effectively is by asking thoughtful questions. But here's the thing: before you can ask the right questions, you need to have a little clarity for yourself first. Otherwise, even the best answers won't feel like they line up. That means you need to get clear on your goals. Think of this as your pre-work. The clearer you are, the more helpful the answers you'll get from your marketing partner. Start by giving a hard look at your mission and vision, and then considering what goals you need to set to move you toward fulfilling them. Maybe you want more client appointments or stronger connections with women in your community or better name recognition. Naming that goal gives your partner something specific to aim at. A part of deciding your goals will also be determining your baselines. Where are you starting from? Even if you don't have perfect data, jot down what you do know. How many people usually visit your website? Which I understand could be hard to answer. So how many new unique clients are coming in each month? These numbers, A, help you determine what your numerical goal should be, and B, become your before picture, and I put that in quotes, that makes growth easier to measure later. Your goals then help determine your priorities. And I'm not trying to just throw everything on you. I know you've got a lot in your plate. I know you're wearing like 50 different hats. But I think this is important. So ask yourself, if you could only move the needle in one area over the next 6 months, what would it be? If that comes to you easily enough, then if you could move the needle in 2 or 3 areas, what will those be? I'm not trying to get you to have a list of like 6 priorities because honestly, that's probably too many priorities. But naming 1 to 3 helps your marketing partner focus on recommendations rather than spreading efforts way too thin. And I know I said to give this some careful consideration, but try not to overthink this step. Even rough notes on your goals, those baselines, and priorities are enough to shape a stronger conversation. I've just heard too many examples of people going into a marketing partnership where they didn't know what they were actually aiming at. Their whole thing was, oh, well, we just want to save more lives, which is great, but you need to put some kind of numbers to it. So, speaking of conversations, here are some questions to keep in your back pocket. How does the strategy connect to our specific goals? This keeps the conversation focused on outcomes, not just activities. What results should we expect to see, and how soon? This helps you set realistic expectations and gives you checkpoints along the way. How will you track and share results with us? You should know what's happening and how progress is measured. And honestly, depending on the marketing group or the marketing partner you're with, they have different ways of relaying this. Some might be monthly reports, and it could differ from product to product. Where do you need our voice, and what does that look like? Marketing works best when it's collaborative. In this case, your voice often means organic content, things only your center can provide, like real stories, authentic posts, and the heart behind your work. It's important to remember that the healthiest marketing partnerships are built on respect and accountability. What does this look like? On the respect side, trust that your partner brings knowledge and expertise you may not have. That's not a weakness. It's why you have them at the table. They've studied algorithms and consumer behavior and ad bidding and design trends and other marketing terms and strategies, so you don't have to. On the accountability side, you should never feel brushed off. Yes, they have the expertise, but they're accountable to you. If something doesn't make sense, ask again. A good partner won't mind explaining, even if the answer is something as simple as, that's how the platform works right now, but here's what that means for you. Speaking of accountability, I have some questions for that as well, if you can believe it. And you will, because I very much want to give you guys some good questions to ask. These questions are specifically focused on how to keep your relationship strong and your strategy on track. So, what's the plan if we don't see progress after 3 months? The 3-month rule is a helpful guideline that I like to use. It usually takes that long to see reliable results from various tactics. Not everything, but I think a lot of things. Some strategies like SEO may take longer, but the principle is to give efforts enough time to show movement before adjusting. Depending on the tactic, they might explain that you need longer than 3 months or you will know before 3 months, but it's a good question to ask. Another one is, how will we know if we're off track, and what will you do to adjust? Again, don't ask these questions in some kind of way that makes it sound like you're doubting their expertise, but definitely ask them with the full confidence of knowing that you guys are in a partnership. And then the final one I have for this part, but we'll get into more in a minute, is when should we revisit goals or shift strategies? I want to give you a starting point, so this isn't an exhaustive list. I really think a healthy marketing partner isn't going to shy away from your questions. In fact, they may actually like your questions because it means you're engaged and thoughtful about where you want to go, especially if you ask the questions with respect to their expertise, not to beat a dead horse. But I really think your approach and position when you're having these questions will make all the difference in how they are received. Now, you're probably tired of hearing my voice, so let's take a break to talk with Jack, our digital advertising specialist, and Cyndie, our new customer support specialist, to get their 2 cents on some red flag comments you may receive from marketing partners or potential marketing partners. Jack, thank you so much for joining the Marketing Minute episode today.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Pleasure to be on.
So you guys might, recognize Jack's name, recognize his voice. He is our digital advertising specialist here at Extend Web Services. And I've asked him to join because I want to toss out some lines you could hear from a marketing vendor and just see how Jack takes them. Like, is it concerning that your marketing partner is saying this to you? Is it kind of run of the mill, just to get his feedback, because this is what he works in every single day? Okay, Jack. So if somebody is talking to their marketing partner specifically about, like, say, Google Ads, and they're asking like why they haven't maybe seen phone calls or something, and the response is clicks are high, conversions will follow. What's your response?
Yeah, so my response for this would be, especially if you are a center that is using Google Ads with the primary focus of getting more calls to your center,
Mm-hmm.
getting more appointment bookings, getting those conversions, those key conversions. I would say that this is a really important question to ask your advertising agency. And if they respond in that manner, and talk about clicks, I would question them and ask them if they even have conversion tracking set up
Right.
with the Google Ads, and also make it known to them that, hey, we want these ads to be driving conversions. As I mentioned, phone calls, texts, emails, book appointments, anything that's going to be a key touch point that is going to
Mm-hmm.
get the user to get in touch with you. You want to make sure that you're telling your marketing agency, these are the important conversions we want to track. And it's also a great way to understand the efficacy of your campaign in driving those key conversions. Because if you have a campaign and you're only tracking clicks, clicks are good. It shows that you're getting traffic, you're getting engagement on your website. People are clicking on ads, they're visiting your website. That is important. That's good. But the most important thing is that they're taking that next step, and they're reaching your website, and then they're reaching out to you. So making sure that you have that clear conversation with your advertising agency is super important, because if you're not tracking conversions and they're only tracking clicks, then you can run into that problem of really not knowing how effective your campaign is.
Yeah, those are some really good points. I'm also curious. So if somebody has high clicks and they're not really seeing conversions, yes, obviously, do you have the conversion tracking in place? But also, is this a sign that maybe they're not hitting the right audience? Like, if they are getting high clicks, but then they're not seeing anybody, like, say they do have conversion tracking in place. If there aren't conversions, or there are not a lot of conversions in comparison to the amount of clicks they have, is it possible they're targeting the wrong people?
Yes, that's totally possible. It's really important as well that your advertising agency knows who your ideal customer is, so that they're able to reach them effectively with the targeting parameters and tools on Google Ads. So as you said, if your campaign has a ton of clicks, but you're not seeing those conversions, that could be a sign that you're reaching the wrong audience. So for instance, let's say you want to, reach a certain age and demographic of user, but you're targeting a completely different age and demographic, then obviously you're going to get more clicks from irrelevant audiences that aren't going to necessarily be interested in the services you offer. So really making sure that your audience targeting parameters are set up correctly, that will definitely help you, or help your campaign efficiency. And it's a good way to see, as you mentioned earlier, if you are getting a lot of clicks but no conversions, that's probably a telltale sign that, hey, something's off here. We're not reaching the right audience.
Nice. Okay. So here's another one for you. If somebody isn't seeing the progress they want to see, and their marketing partner says, "Ugh, competition is just too aggressive to see the results that they want to see," what is a response there? And I know that could be maybe that could be it is a complex situation. Sometimes competition is hard, but if that's the response, if they're like, competition is just too aggressive, then what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it is a bit of a layered answer, but there's a few things that you could definitely do. I think firstly, look at what type of campaign you're using. So if you're using a standard search ad campaign and your cost per clicks are getting exceedingly high. That signals competition in your area. I would look at maybe pivoting and implementing another campaign type like Performance Max, for instance, where you're advertising not just on search, but all across Google's ad channels like YouTube, Discover, Display, Gmail, Maps. And that way, you'll be able to compete more effectively because you're not just siloing yourself into running ads on search. You're also able to deliver ads all across these channels, which gives you a better opportunity for to compete in different spaces, not just on search. So looking at campaign type strategy would be huge. I also think too, like if you are just running a standard search campaign, I think looking at your keywords, looking at, okay, we have some keywords that the cost per click is through the roof. Let's maybe try and pivot, try new keywords. Always looking to test and iterate keywords, I think, is huge if you're running that standard search campaign and you're noticing increased competition.
Mm-hmm.
And lastly, I think as well too, just looking at the audience targeting, not just audience targeting in your campaign to make sure that you are reaching your target audience and your target demographic, but also looking at geographical targeting as well. You might only be targeting, you might have very narrow targeting parameters where you're not able to give Google enough user data because it's a limited population that can, and there's also competition that could also lead to having poor campaign results. So I think looking at geo-targeting, maybe broadening that a bit could help as well. And I guess lastly, I don't want to make this too long, but lastly, just looking at your ads as well, because that's often that gets kind of forgotten when you're looking at all the different campaign parameters and the targeting and whatnot, but making sure that you have high quality ads and making sure that the quality score of the ad is at least good, if not excellent, so that you're able to be more competitive in the auction and making sure that your ads are relevant and they match the services that you provide.
Nice. Jack, I know, again, painting with a broad brush here, so it might be late as well, but the whole competition being high in an area, is that something you can see in rural and urban areas, or is it typically when you're in an area that has like maybe a higher population?
Yeah, I would say you can see it in both
Okay.
rural and urban areas. It really depends. I would say sometimes in rural areas, it can be a little bit more difficult, just because there's a smaller population size. So that's less data for Google to use. But I wouldn't say that should deter anyone from utilizing Google Ads in a rural area. It's just a little bit more difficult sometimes with competition. But the same could be said for if you're in a highly populated, metropolitan area. You could definitely see increased competition as well, and it could be just as hard as if you're in, rural Mississippi versus
Sure.
Los Angeles. Like it's really, it really depends. It's kind of a case by case thing.
Okay. And here is the last question, another probably layered one. I guess those are the only ones I'm asking today. And that is if if somebody at a center or home is talking to a marketing partner and they say, you just need to double your budget. What's your response?
Yeah, I would say that a healthy budget is always good, but you can really go far with a lean budget as well. It just takes a little bit more blood, sweat, and tears, I would say, in terms of making sure you have the best strategy possible. If you're running Google Ads, you really can work with a lean budget, and just throwing money at a campaign isn't automatically going to make the results better. As I mentioned, you have to make sure you're going after the right audience. You have high quality ads, making sure you're using the right campaign, right keywords. There's so many elements that come into play. So many different levers you can pull on Google to make your campaign efficient. The budget is a huge component of it, but it's not the only component. And
Mhm.
it helps you reach more people. But if you don't have your campaign set up properly, and it's not fully optimized to perform, then you're just going to waste your money at the end of the day.
Jack, I feel like I could pepper you with questions, and it's way easier to pepper you with questions than have to answer the questions myself. But I promised you a short segment. So that is what I'm going to do. Thank you so much for jumping on here. Is there anything that you want to offer in terms of advice or questions or just things for people to think about when they are talking about digital advertising with their marketing partner?
Yeah, I would just say, do your due diligence in looking for a good agency, and
Hmm.
don't be afraid to ask them questions and ask them to meet on a regular basis if you don't fully understand
Hmm.
um, Google Ads and how the campaign works, and how to optimize ads. If you want a better understanding of that, don't feel like you can't reach out to them and ask, hey, I want to meet and discuss results, discuss strategy, things like that. I think that it's really good, especially in the line of work that we're in, to have that good client agency relationship, just so that we're on the same page. And yeah, I'd also just say, like I said before, make sure that if you are setting up a Google Ads campaign, make sure that all your bases are covered before you throw a ton of money at it. Make sure that it's set up in the most optimized way possible.
Yeah. And I know I've primarily been asking you about things that relate to Google Ads, but I feel like everything you shared in terms of asking questions and being aware of what you're going after and making sure you have an open line of communication with your marketing partner goes for whatever digital advertising you're doing.
Yeah, agreed.
Okay, Jack, thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Delaney.
Okay, y'all, we have with us our new customer support specialist, Cyndie Schmidt. Cyndie, how are you doing today?
I'm doing fabulous.
I invited Cyndie on today's episode partly because I wanted you guys to get a chance to hear from her, and partly because Cyndie is a co-founder of a maternity home deep in the heart of Texas, and she has been in your shoes. She has been a part of driving a pregnancy help organization's mission forward. She has been in the conversations about what does success look like and what does it look like to achieve those things. And so I wanted to toss some questions her way, like, or sentences her way, where if she was hearing this from a potential marketing vendor, what's her response? And then she and I will go back and forth because I have a feeling she and I might see some of these things differently. And that could be interesting for you guys. So, your first thing that a marketing partner says is consistency is more important than measuring whether the plan is really working.
Yeah, I think my initial response to that is consistency in anything is important, to kind of flesh out what's going to work and what's not going to work. So before you consider something as a success or not, you have to really like put in the time to say, am I being, am I doing my part to make this work, or is it just not working because it's just not working?
Yeah, I would also add, and tell me what you think about this. Consistency can be a really good thing or a really bad thing. If you don't have the right goal in mind and you're consistently working towards the wrong thing, then that consistency is going to hurt bad real fast.
Yeah, I would totally agree with that. And I mean, it's good to constantly like reevaluate what you're doing. And if your consistency is actually moving you towards the goal that you have in mind, or if it's just wasting your time, if you're being consistent with something that's just not going to move you forward in the direction you want to go.
Yeah, and that's why it's good to know your goals and then to be really transparent and open with your marketing partner about what those goals are so that they know the target they're trying to hit.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, here's another one. Not every tactic is about immediate results. Some are just good to have in place.
I think that can be true. Not every tactic, as you said, is necessarily going to aim for these big flashy goals. Sometimes you have to have these things in place as support system for other tactics that you're going to bring in to meet those big flashy goals. So I think that can be true to a certain extent.
Yeah, there are going to be some things that are more like support for some of the bigger drivers you have. But I think it still makes sense to have an understanding of what those tactics are trying to accomplish. So maybe it is as support. And if so, like, how is it in support? And I'm not saying like question every single thing your marketing partner is doing. I think really what I'm just pushing for is like it's okay to ask questions and it's okay to have a better understanding while still respecting their expertise that they're bringing to the table.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the key there is going to be clarity. what is the long-term goal? What are these tactics in place to achieve, whether that's in a supporting role or, kind of a main lane trajectory towards the goal. And so I think if there's clarity there, that would be, imperative.
Yeah, definitely. Okay. Another one in the strategy area is we'll circle back to evaluate outcomes once we've had time to really run with this strategy.
This one does give me a little bit of pause. It could almost come off a little bit flippant, maybe not. I don't know. I feel like it could often give way to losing sight of the goal, and maybe running faster than you need to run on something, which could potentially cause you to run right past something of importance. So that one does definitely give me a little bit of pause.
So just like the questions that I asked Jack, there can be like layered response. And that's so true. Like I felt the same way about this question is in the right context, it makes sense. But the thing that I would want to make sure is like, do I know what the outcomes are supposed to be? So saying we'll circle back to evaluate outcomes once we've had a chance to really run with the strategy. Okay, I totally get it. There are many times where we tell someone, let this, like say in digital advertising, let this run for 90 days. Let's see what kind of response we get over the next 3 months before we just pivot, because some things do need time. But when we do that, we do know what we want our outcomes to be. So it's not like we look at the results and then we're like, okay, well, what happened here? Like we know what we're driving toward.
Yeah, and I think the way you described it there, the transparency of that would give peace of mind if that's the approach you wanted to take with something. Like you said, this is our goal, but we're going to have to run it for this amount of time to see what our results are going to be. And so if you kind of lead off with that and come right off the bat with that information and that clarity, I think that would be, you know, give more peace of mind.
Okay, that's great. And here's your final one, Cyndie. The reporting tools don't capture everything, but trust us, the impact is there.
I like to see numbers and results, hard and fast. And so that would make me feel a little bit leery. I would just want to be convinced. I would want you to show me the impact. I wouldn't want to just go on a hope and a prayer that everything's working out. I would like to see some results on paper.
Yeah. And so, for example, at a maternity home, if you were going to work with a vendor, whether you are working with them to increase donor relations, like pull in donations, or you're working with them to get the word out about your home to reach potential clients, in both cases, you would have a goal in mind. And
Mhm.
so you, on some level, should be able to feel or see the impact in what your numbers are in terms of donations or in terms of like clients reaching out or potential clients reaching out.
Yeah, I think that would be necessary, especially because, if you're working with a marketing group and you are putting funds towards that, the funds that you're using are coming from your donors, and so it's important that we're good stewards of those funds. And so if we're putting them into a service like this, without the expectation that we will be able to have proof of good results, that could almost be a lack of good stewardship with your investment there. So I think it would be important to find a way to offer results and kind of show how everything's playing out, with everything that you've put in place.
Yeah. So, Cyndie, just in terms of kind of last remarks, I did mention that you were a co-founder of a maternity home in Texas, and you have been part of that organization growing over the past, what, 10 years?
Hmm. Yes.
But what I didn't say before is that you have also been a freelance graphic designer. So maybe as just like a couple last words of advice when directors are looking at potential partners, what are some things to consider? Like when you're thinking about whether I should work with this person, we're talking about it through the lens of marketing groups, but you have been somebody's part. You've been people's partners throughout the years as you've worked on different projects. So what advice can you offer in terms of like vetting if this is a really good partner for them?
One thing that I think would be important for me if I was on the other side of this, would be finding a group that understood the mission and vision and the audience I was trying to reach, the goals I was trying to hit, and truly having a full grasp on that. And then obviously, like on the technical aspect, you want people that are going to be excellent at what they do and be able to kind of throw vision and ideas back at you about what, could happen to make your organization better, what can improve what you're already doing and things like that. So it's multifaceted. I think you want them to share in the vision or catch the vision. You want them to be able to help you, reach your target groups and things like that. But you also want them to be good at what you do. You want them to be able to communicate effectively. And honestly, like selfishly for me, I would just want to make sure I was working with a really kind group of people, approachable, kind. I think those are the things that would probably be most important to me if I was kind of on the other side of that.
That is so solid. Cyndie, thank you so much for your time today.
You're so welcome.
Was it obvious that I had a little bit of fun pelting them with questions? I hope you don't feel overwhelmed. I hope that you don't feel discouraged in any way about finding the right marketing partner or ensuring that you have a healthy relationship with whoever your marketing partner is. Thankfully for you, there are some pretty great pro-life marketing groups that want to see you succeed. I had the opportunity to speak with several of them at the CareNet conference a few weeks ago. I not only walked away with their stickers and merch, but also I was filled with expectation and excitement about what will be accomplished. Give yourself space and time to set your goals, ask your questions, and meet with potential marketing partners to determine who is your center's best fit. As the manager of Extend Web Services, I can tell you that we'd love to have the chance to discuss your goals and how we might partner with you to help you achieve them. You can contact me by emailing support@extendwebservices.com. Now, regardless of what you choose, I just want to say that in the name of Jesus, I bless you with discernment on your decisions, joy in the work, and fruitful partnerships to bolster your life-saving mission. Thank you for what you do.